he's not just in any store in the mall. He's in the creepy doll store.
No, it's not the creepy doll store. It's straight up the American Girl doll store.
We are here to talk about episode 7 of The Last of Us, otherwise known as the DLC from the first game.
That is correct. Left Behind. I saw it was called Left Behind, and I went, okay, I know what this episode's going to be.
I say this every episode. As someone who doesn't play the video games, this was a storyline that I knew was coming because of how prevalent it is within the Last of Us video game universe. I didn't know the exact details, but I knew, I was like, oh, there's someone named Riley. This is going to be a big deal.
What do you think?
There have been hints leading up to this, even within the show itself. Way back in episode 2, when Tess is like, we shouldn't be worried about like a boyfriend coming to get you.
Right.
And then Bella Ramsey is like,
I'm an orphan, and no.
It was all over Twitter of like, that's, no boyfriend is coming. And now we know that had this episode turned out differently, maybe O'Reilly would have been coming, but...
Right. Well, and they had previously very specifically mentioned Riley.
Yes.
So, again, we knew that we were going to cover this very important part of Ellie's formation, and I thought one of the things that was really nice about this episode was the fact that it really was mostly just focused on these two girls having as normal of a mall date as you possibly could in the given circumstances.
At a base level, what we get from this episode is that we get essentially Ellie's backstory.
Yeah.
She was being trained by Fedra to be a Fedra soldier, and they, like, at least one person above her in rank saw something in her that could be good. And Riley was her roommate / best friend / crush / girlfriend / Lord, who knows? Kids.
You're a firefly? Jesus.
Riley didn't really believe in the Firefly's cause.
Yeah.
She had come from a family. She had memory of her parents. And when she went into this Fedra school, she was basically put into an organization that was making her into a useful member of society, quote unquote. And they only cared about her ability to participate in this system, not about who she was as a person. And so the feeling that she got from Marlene when she caught her and noticed, hey, I see you sneaking around, you got something, kid. Yeah. She felt like there was somebody who actually cared about her. And then by the end of the episode, as she realizes that there was somebody who she mattered to, and that person was Ellie, we see her decide, I'm not gonna go, I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna be with you.
We get to know more about how Fedra operates than I feel like we ever have before. Like, they're pulling these kids in and they're assigning, there is no choice.
No.
Like, this is what the world is at this point. Fedra brings you in, they train you up, they send you to hang out in the sewer, which sounds awful.
It feels a little bit like the punishment of going to the wall in Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you were a criminal, you are an orphan, there is nowhere else that you belong. Here is somewhere that you can have a life.
But that's also, that's another important point, is that at the beginning of the episode, Ellie gets in trouble, and this higher officer who sees something in her, basically lays it out. Of, the troublemakers get sent to the sewer, the dumb kids are their supervisors, but kids like Ellie, that they are smart and think that, if they fall in line, can be officers.
Right.
And he sort of lays that out, and I think, it was a very interesting thing of being, it's almost like, it's like the college path, you know what I mean?
It's very much so.
I mean, it's the military path.
So which way?
Earlier in the season, when Ellie had to kill someone, Joel consoles her, and she says,
it wasn't my first time.
And if you don't know the games, immediately you got to be wondering, what? I need to know more. And now we finally get it. She's been training. She's been, she was trained to be a killer. They're essentially Fedra's training children to be killers.
Yeah.
She straight up broke that girl's nose. There are a couple of big emotional callbacks, and one of the big ones is that the game they play is Mortal Kombat, which is, if you go back to episode 3 when they stop at the convenience store, that is the game in the convenience store, and Ellie is just oh, have you ever played this one? And now I just was oh, okay, Well,
and I believe that in the convenience store she also played it off as, oh, I heard about this game before. I had a friend who said that there was a character you could play as that would swallow people up and spit out all their bones. And of course, as a avid Mortal Kombat 2 player at approximately age 7 and a Melina main, I knew exactly what that was about. But that being said, it's that allusion to the fact that Ellie, as much as Joel was hiding the existence of Sarah from Ellie hasn't discussed the Riley stuff with Joel either, because the whole idea is actually, at the end of the day, they are exactly alike.
This memory of this date in the mall with Riley, before we get to how it ends, is triggered by the fact that Ellie is taking care of Joel in a suburban household. He looks like he's on the brink of death. But I'm like interested in your guys' perspective of sort of like, why is that the thing that would trigger this particular memory, and like what you think Ellie is, like what having that memory sort of does for her in that moment.
So, okay. When you look at the way it plays out in the game,
it's
she goes
really
to a mall and it's very one-to-one. For here, she is like the way it's playing out on the show, she's watching the one person she cares about and can count on slip away, like the last one person she should count on. She could count on.
Yeah.
Like it's like she's living through this horrible nightmare again.
Right.
And this time it's happening so much more slowly.
And there's another layer of that, which is to say that in the Left Behind flashback with Riley, the idea is that Riley was going to leave her. And then she decided, no, I'm not going to leave you. And they were immediately torn apart. Same thing in the last episode. Joel wanted her to go with Tommy. He was going to leave her behind.
Yeah.
And then he chose not to. And now she's in a situation wherein he is on the brink of death, and she can save him potentially because he hasn't been bit. It's not a done deal death sentence.
Right.
And I would also say that, like, once again, Joel is telling her to leave and get out, and she has to make the decision of, like, does she leave and save herself, or does she try to save Joel?
Yeah.
Now, my question for you is, how much guilt is she feeling in this moment? Because it's very much like,
I know.
She chose, like, Joel gave her the choice, and obviously she chose Joel. We all would have chosen Joel. I don't care how old Joel is. We love him. But like, the reason he is in this state now is because she chose him to be the one that took her. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm like, part of me wonders, like, how much is she grappling with the fact that, like, oh, my choice kind of set this all into motion.
Yeah. And it's almost the opposite of what happened with Riley, where Riley was the one who was like, hey, sneak out with me and have the best night of your life. And because Ellie chose to go with Riley, and I think that also kind of brings things back around to their last moments together after they've been attacked, and they have that conversation wherein they consider shooting themselves.
Be all poetic and shit and lose our minds together.
And I think that Ellie knows that there is a possibility that she's not going to be able to save Joel, but she's going to do everything in her damn power to make sure that they have every minute possible left with each other.
And that goes also as a callback to episode 6, like when she is yelling at him, she's like, you don't have a majority on loss. Like, everybody I love has left me or died.
Yes.
So like, you don't get to choose how I deal with that. And so I think that's like, again, like the way in which the show has like carried through lines, and there are these subtle callbacks, is like, has been really brilliant and been something to enjoy.
I'm in agreement. And I also think that one of the things the show has done well is they really earn the people are worse than the zombies.
They have, like, that has been made clear over and over and over. And we have 2 more episodes, so like,
I will not stand for this Melanie Lynskey slander.
Oh no, do not come for Melanie Lynskey. She was great. Her clapback on Twitter when someone was like, why doesn't she look like Sarah Connor? She's like, she's smart. She has henchmen to do her dirty work for her.
Yeah, you know what Sarah Connor didn't have to do? Live in the apocalypse.
Exactly.
Sarah Connor lived in the 90s.
Yeah.
None of what happened in this episode could have landed if they were in something that only kind of sort of resembled a mall.
Yeah, no.
Like,
they were,
the setting of this is so important.
That mall and the choice of shops to include in it took me right back to the Danbury Fair Mall, the biggest mall in the state of Connecticut, the one I grew up going to.
Immediately for all of us, we were thinking about us being in middle school, being dropped off at the mall, hanging out. Like, that's where we hung out, like, at their age.
Yeah.
And for them, this was something that they've heard about in, like, old movies or training footage, whatever. Like, this is their first time ever in a mall. And it's, like, also, like, as a kid, your dream is to be locked in the mall overnight.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That, as an adult, my dream is to be locked into the mall overnight. Let's go.
I mean, it works on so many levels, from even just a classic horror perspective. You know, you think about stuff like Chopping Mall.
Dawn of the Dead.
Of course, but
Like,
of course, very clearly an homage to Dawn of the Dead. The Fear Street trilogy on Netflix, a bunch of it takes place in a mall. Like, horror in a mall rules. And why it rules is, again, because of the ability to create that dramatic irony of, we, the audience, know that everything is about to be terrible. Meanwhile, the protagonists are truly having the best time ever.
On another note, is there a lack of zombie content in The Last of Us? Is that a problem?
I don't think so, and for a very specific reason. While on the surface, The Last of Us is a zombie show, it's not a zombie show, and it's not a zombie story. It's a character story.
Correct.
Like, the whole point of The Last of Us is the relationship between Joel and Ellie, and watching that bloom and develop and turn into this sort of beautiful father-daughter connection in the face of every horrible thing imaginable. We've seen The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
You know what's not fun? Hordes of zombies. Like, that gets in the middle of my character development.
I was about to say, it was like a major complaint with The Walking Dead is when they go stretches of time where it's just like, oh God, I gotta watch these people talking, man.
Yeah, but that's because their character development's not very good. This, on the other hand, because that's another thing with The Walking Dead. It's like, yeah, they're getting a long stretch of time without zombies while they try to develop the 35 main characters on this show. This is just two people on the road getting to know each other. So, like, I am A-okay personally without an onslaught of infected.
Which I think, honestly, brings us to Megan's nightmare scene
Oh, boy.
of the week. It is the slow creep to the stalker zombie in the mall. And like, I knew something had to be there. With anytime they say multiple times, no, it's clean, we've totally checked it out, like, that's not, eagle-eyed people knows, he's not just in any store in the mall, he's in the creepy doll store of the mall.
Oh no, it's not the creepy doll store, it's straight up the American Girl doll store. Straight up.
To be fair, the American Girl doll store is a creepy doll store.
100%.
Yes.
That's what I was saying.
But now it's like, American Girl dolls are creepy to begin with. I had two of them, the porcelain ones on the stand. But they've also been like decayed 20 years. And so like it's so you're going through creepy dolls to get to this dead man just like in his mushroom state. He couldn't have been in a limited 2. You know what I mean? A Claire's.
What if he would have been in a Claire's just under like a pile of plastic earrings?
You know what I mean? A Hot Topic with just like some crude posters like over the
Okay, now you've got my imagination going. I want him to walk out of a Spencer's with like a baseball cap says "I'm not over the hill, I'm under it," and like a bottle of fart pills or whatever. I mean, that kind of leads right into Ellie's Curse of the Week. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you are now the expert of this scene. It's after she kills the clicker. Yeah. The stalker, the dead man. She just goes, "Shh." And I don't know why it made me laugh, because it's horrible things are happening.
It's a moment of triumph, though. You know
what
I mean?
That's the thing. She won.
Yeah.
She faced something she really, I'm assuming, had not faced before. Yeah. And she kicked its ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also that's simultaneous is that like she gets like 3 seconds of victory, and then it's
when Riley
is like, bruh, and then she's like, oh no,
yeah. I mean, for me, it was a real moment of triumph too, because that is you shiv things in the neck all the time in the game. Like, that's the best way to kill stuff. And Ellie does it. And so to see her do it, I was like, damn, yes, Ellie, let's go. But of course, immediately knew that it was.
And then it's like, oh, Ellie, let's go.
All gonna be terrible.
No.
Well, we have 2 episodes left.
The final
Obviously,
countdown.
there's still some like big gaps in the story that we need. We still need to get her to the Fireflies. Where are they? What's happening? Joel's been stitched up. She did not she didn't take a lighter to that stitch. She didn't take alcohol to that stitch. So that's infected.
She's a child. She doesn't know about infections.
She went to Fedra school. That should have been First Aid 101.
She knew what she was looking for, I think, but she couldn't find anything but a needle and thread, and so she went, well, we'll just do this.
So yeah, but that wound is 100% infected. So I think going forward, it's what state is Joel in if and when he recovers from this? And then it's what... We're not finding the Fireflies soon. We have 2 more episodes, so I'm imagining that there's more trauma before she gets to the Fireflies.
You said if and when he recovers. Can you imagine if they kill off Pedro Pascal 2 episodes before the finale?
We are on an HBO show in the final episodes of the first. He's not guaranteed. I don't care what happened in the video game. They can do whatever they want. And if Game of Thrones taught us anything, if we are this late in the game, Pedro Pascal can go. Bella Ramsey is a big enough star. They can carry the rest of the show. This has been The Chat with us. Thanks for hanging out. Leave your likes and comments below.